via Facebook. To those present in the meeting, by participating in this public meeting, you're consenting to your image, voice and comments being recorded and published. The General Manager and the Mayor have the authority to pause the recording if comments and debate are considered defamatory or otherwise inappropriate for publishing. Participants are advised they may be subject to legal action if they engage in unlawful behaviour or commentary. We have no apologies for tonight. We are recording, aren't we?
Yes, madam.
We've started recording. We have no apologies for tonight. Councillor Adams, could you say the prayer, please?
Almighty God, we ask you to invoke your blessing upon this council. Direct and prosper our deliberations to the advancement and true welfare of the people of the council area, our state and Australia. Amen.
Thank you. Councillor Gallagher, can you do the acknowledgement of country?
Yes, I wish to acknowledge the traditional owners upon the land on which we meet and pay our respect to those elders, both past, present and emerging.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. We'll move to the minutes for confirmation. Do I have a mover? Councillor Adams, seconder Councillor Clark. Is there any debate? No debate. I'll put the minutes, all those in favour. Oh, I think no, she's... Did you want to speak, Councillor Brown? Yes. No, no. All those in favour, vote yes. And against? Oh, that's declared unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Oops, I forgot to vote. Thank you, councillors, that's carried. We have moved to item 6, disclosures of interest, for which there is one. Councillor Adams.
Yes, it's a conflict of interest pecuniary for item number 9, report 82-28. I'm the curator of the museum. It's been received a grant. So I will be leaving the room.
Thank you, councillors. Is there any other councillors that have disclosures of interest? No other councillors. Thank you, Councillor Adams. We'll move to item 7, mayoral minute, for which there is none. Item 8, notice of motion, for which there is none. Item 9, notice of rescission motions, for which there is nil. And item 10, reports from delegates, for which there is none. And excuse me tonight, councillors, I've got a very croaky voice, but I haven't got a cold, I promise. We move to item 11, reports, and report number 1 is report number 74/20, page 18, correspondence regarding the federal government's support of the local government sector. Do I have a mover? Councillor Adams. Seconder? Councillor Clark.
Councillor Brown.
Councillor Brown. Thank you, councillors. Is there any discussion?
Pretty sparse.
I think Councillor Brown is...
Yes, Madam Mayor, there's not much we can do about this, but I think we need to remind the government that local government still is campaigning for a greater share of revenue. We're still well down with the proportion that the federal government pays us in federal assistance grants. So I think perhaps we should respond and say thank you very much, but we're still not getting enough ongoing support.
Councillor Adams, are you happy to include that into your...
Quite happy.
Yep, okay, we'll include that in. Councillor Page. Just unmute yourself, Councillor.
I think we're very lucky to have a
our Member of Parliament, third Member of Parliament, to be the Minister of Local Government. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity to speak to him, and we should be able to make some inroads into getting extra funding for our region, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Page. With that, if there's any speakers against? No speakers against? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. We'll move to item 2, Broken Hill City Council report number 75/20, date June 17, page 23. It's the correspondence relating to the construction of Warrygate Road. Do I have a mover for this? Moved by Councillor Clark, second by Councillor Brown. Councillor Clark, do you want to speak to this?
Not really, Madam Mayor. I think that this is very worthwhile, a very worthwhile project. It's going to have great implications, not just for the people in that particular area regarding their freight movements, increased freight movements, etc., but also opening up the inland to tourism. And if we open up the inland to tourism, I think there are great benefits here for Broken Hill as well. So we're not asked for any finance or anything like that. We are simply asked to support them, and I think we should do that wholeheartedly.
Thank you, councillors. I'll put the is there any speakers against? No, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Oh, sorry, Councillor Brown. Sorry, I'll go back to Councillor Brown.
Yes, Madam Mayor. I did want to speak about this. Just maybe a bit of history, because this is a very long-standing campaign that council's been involved with probably for around 20 or 30 years. I mean, there was a time when Broken Hill City Council was very active in this. We had relationships with Bulu Shire Council, and there was what was called the North-South Road Task Force, and again, council was involved in a number of requests to various state and federal ministers to get this. So, I mean, I find it very heartwarming that finally there's a possibility that this will come to fruition. I think it will be a very important road, extremely important to Broken Hill to have a north-south link, sealed link through to Queensland, as well as, you know, obviously a good east-west connection. So I think we should support it very enthusiastically.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kennedy.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Was that just 2 speakers for the motion? I didn't hear anyone.
Yes, sorry, Councillor. I'm never sure when I say Councillor if they're speaking for. Are you speaking against?
No, I just was. I was just making the point that you know, I could speak in favour of it as well. I'm sure there's probably 8 or 9 of the other councillors that would be willing to speak in favour of it. But if we're going to start turning it into where we just all not go with the rules of debates, 1 for, 1 against, I'm sure it'll be a long night.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll try and do that. It's very hard when you're checking to see if the blue hand's up what councillors are about to do. So I'll check in. Thank you for that reminder. So just item 3, we're moving to report number 76/20, annual fee for mayor and councillors, page 70. Oh, sorry, I'll go back and put the motion. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Button, Christine.
Oh, button.
Declare that carried unanimous. Thank you, councillors. We now move to report number 76/20 on page 70 is the annual fees and for mayor and councillors. Councillor Adams, you're moving that way.
No, amendment, Madam Mayor.
What's your amendment? What's your motion?
Motion, that it's exactly the same except for number 4. That council, instead of what's written there for 4, that council declines an increase in the current fees for the mayor and councillors for 2021 financial year.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder for that?
Councillor Clark.
Councillor Clark, you're seconding that? Yes. Councillor Adams, would you like to speak to the motion?
Look, I think it's self-explanatory at this particular time of the situation in council and everywhere else. It would be rather crass for us to even consider it.
Absolutely, thank you. Is there any debate against? No debate against. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Councillors, thank you. That's unanimous. Oh, sorry. It's all those in favour. Councillor Bertelli, Councillor Allgate, Councillor LaCour, Councillor Adams, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Brown, Councillor Clark, Councillor Kennedy. Against, Councillor Page. Thank you, councillors. We'll now move on to item. Now move to item 4, report number 77/20, page 97, the minutes of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Gallagher, seconder. Seconder, Councillor Clark. Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Gallagher, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thanks, Madam Mayor. It's before you now, the Audit Risk Improvement Management Committee. It's a very good meeting. It's a well presented report, and I commend the report to the council.
Thank you. Councillor Kennedy is speaking against the motion. Councillor Kennedy, unmute yourself.
Yeah, it wasn't up, Madam Mayor. Yes, I'll speak against it, but I have just a couple of questions before I speak against it. On page 101 of the report, item 3 for the audit committee. In there, there's a question asked about the estimate reduction in revenue for council was 1.7 million. We now know that figure was made up of loss in investments and also legal fees. And then it goes on an estimate reduction of 2.3 million for the next year. Can it just be briefly explained how the 2.3 million for next year is going to come about?
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Mr. General Manager?
Madam Mayor, I'll refer to the CFO if he wishes to comment.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Kennedy, 2.3 million, I think, has been explained in the 2020-21 operational plan and long-term financial plan, but it is a reduction in investment revenue and facility revenue, including the airport, art gallery, geo centre, and business information centre as the main ones.
I mean, just a follow-up question there. So we assume that most of the restrictions are going to disappear over the coming months. And I do notice on the next page when one of the, I think it was a chairperson, asked the question, and in there it said it would be from a reduction in rate revenue and working from home. So could you just explain, because it just says here, I'll just page 102, the cost of staff working from home and estimated reduction in rate revenue are the following responses to his questions. So now we're being told about this additional loss in investment income and additional loss in other income such as the airport. So is that loss in investment income, is that what was projected loss in investment income, or are we going to continue to lose money off our principal?
Mr. General Manager.
CFO.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. We haven't lost any money off our principal, so I'm not sure where that's come from. But there is a reduction in our investment revenue from last year's long-term financial plan to this year's long-term financial plan due to COVID-19. That's been explained throughout the budget briefings and in the draft documents. The comment from Mr. Pulgies in regards to rates revenue was not so much rates revenue, but a reduction in rates receipts. He sought clarification on that, and if there was any additional cost in staff from working home, just to clarify those minutes.
Right. Just a further question. I didn't say that there was a loss to the principal. I said, how are we judging that there's going to be a loss to our investments? Is it what our projected, and you just answered that, it's our projected long-term loss. We should actually be revising our what we expect to get year to year, not using your guesswork for a long-term thing. We now know that the returns are not going to be the same, so there actually is not a loss in revenue. It was a loss in projected long-term revenue. These things need to be a little. I'm now speaking against it. That wasn't a question. I'm speaking against it. So when these reports are written, what concerns me is you see $2.3 million in additional loss. We know that is a loss in what our Chief Financial Officer expected over the long term of the investments. It is actually not a loss. It was a wrong prediction. We now know the prediction's wrong, and we reassess and reevaluate what our prediction is. So our prediction doesn't result in any loss over the operational year. It is different from what is expected from the long-term figures that were put together by our Chief Financial Officer. Figures that change significantly. A few years ago, we were talking about mines being closed and all that sort of stuff. We now know that's not what's going to happen. So again, that changes what our long-term predictions are going to be. That doesn't mean that we're getting extra money or less money. It means our predictions change. Our long-term predictions can never be as accurate as our short-term predictions. And when we write these reports, we should be writing them of what we know at the time and preparing our operational and yearly budgets based on what we know at the time. Other things that was concerned to me was on page 103, where item 6, the chairperson noted that the correspondence from the Office of Local Government and correspondence from the Ombudsman role to oversee the implementation and recommendations from the Ombudsman's final report. The General Manager advised that the visit the representative of the beneficial and shows what Council has done over the past 3 years implementing the Ombudsman's recommendations. I find that particularly peculiar, considering we fought the Ombudsman's recommendations and Ombudsman's preliminary report, draft report. We fought the Ombudsman's report all the way. That has cost significant amount of money to Council in legal costs, significant amounts. So how can we then have at item 6 in the audit risk that we've been implementing the Ombudsman's findings and recommendations for 3 years? We have fought for 3 years those findings at every level and fought them right up till this day. And in fact, we have a significant legal expense that was from June last year to current, significant expenses. And in this audit report, we are saying that we are quite happy and that Council has made over the past 3 years to implement the Ombudsman's recommendations. That is completely not true. The review of Council's pecuniary framework has only just come to Council and is in this business paper. 3 years, this is why I have to speak against it and have to vote against it. There is so many errors and so many things that are misinformed in this document It's almost laughable. And from a council's perspective, I'm not happy with it, and no member of the community should be happy with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Just clarifying, is that 3 years or 3 months?
No, it refers to 3 years, but it's again the whole that diatribe, whatever that was, is just taken completely out of context. So,
Mr. General Manager.
But anyway, no, it's. I mean, the implementations and the improvements, Madam Mayor, have been a consistent feature of reports to council over the past 3 or so years in terms of for everything from the problems that were associated with project management right through. So that's the context of the discussion.
Okay, thank you. Speakers for the motion? Speakers for the motion? No speakers for? Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Page.
Madam Mayor, I'd just like to ask everyone attending the meeting to speak clearly into the system, because some people are loud and clear, very excellent, and others you can't comprehend what's being said. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kennedy was...
Against it.
I know you spoke against it. Was there... I can't hear you, you're not unmuting. You need to unmute.
Yeah, just a follow-up question, Madam Mayor. Going on from what the General Manager said and what's in the report says that we've been implementing the findings from the Ombudsman's report for 3 years. That is not what I've been getting as a council. For 3 years, I've been told we've done the right thing, and we will be fighting the Ombudsman to the end to prove we've done the right thing. You can't, in one breath, pay out hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever for legal fees for an Ombudsman's report and then say, but we implemented it from the moment we got it. It just cannot happen. And how can the Mayor explain to me how at the same time we could possibly be implementing what the Ombudsman's report said, taking it on that we'd done something wrong, and at the same time be fighting it all this time, costing the ratepayers significant money?
Thank you, Councillor. There's no further debate. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Adams, you've got a blue hand up.
Oh,
Can you do your green voting button? Thanks. So I'll read through. Mayor Shelley, Councillor LeCour, Councillor Adams, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Brown, Councillor Clark. Councillor Page, you haven't voted yet. And Councillor Page, against Councillor Kennedy and Councillor Allgate. Thank you, councillors. We'll now move to report number 78/20, page 107, the Procurement Framework and Policy Review. Do I have a mover for the motion? Do I have a mover for the motion? Councillor Nolan, and second by Councillor Branco. Councillor Nolan, do you want to speak to the motion?
Yes, thanks. Is the audio coming through okay?
Yep, very loud.
Oh, that's good. I'm blessed with a good signal. Look, I think it's an excellent improvement on what we had. It formalises our procurement to the best benefit of Broken Hill, because it encourages local suppliers, even to the point that where a large contract is called for, and traditionally no one in town would be able to fill that, and we'd have to look outside town, then we've made provision that for a minimum at least of local subcontractors. So I think it's a great balance, and it formalises the intent that we've always had, which is the betterment of Broken Hill. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Any speakers against? Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm quite disappointed with this policy in a number of areas, particularly 4.1, for example, where council is encouraged where we're looking at using procurement of public works advisory. I think councillors should be making sure they're involved in the process all the way instead of outsourcing all the time. But what is a significant concern to me, and I would say would be significant concern to the community, is at 14.1, page 137. Particularly dot point staff are to give first consideration to Aboriginal owned businesses on pre-qualification schemes before proceeding to market for procurements valued up to $250,000 where appropriate. Direct negotiations with suitable qualified Aboriginal owned businesses that can demonstrate value for money and delivery of quality goods and services procurements valued up to $250,000. We are, as a community, are elected to look after all businesses in Broken Hill. What concerns me greatly about this is the report was talking about fairness, value for money, etc. How can you be fair to all businesses when you pick an Aboriginal-owned business ahead of all businesses? We have a 10% qualifying thing for local businesses. That could be quite easily outweighed by an Aboriginal firm that comes from Sydney or wherever else. We should be looking at the value of money. We should be looking at local businesses and local businesses only as far as extra benefit, not benefit to organisations paying up to $250,000 that may be owned by a person of Aboriginal descent. We as business people in Broken Hill, and that does not matter whether you are Aboriginal or whether you are non-Aboriginal, people in Broken Hill support, or Broken Hill businesses support other Broken Hill businesses. We certainly don't want to, from a council, to be seen to be unfair or giving special treatment to one group of businesses in town as opposed to another, depending on who owns the business. I find it just unpalatable. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Any speakers for? No speakers for. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? And against? So Councillor Mayor Shirley, Councillor Cool, Councillor Adams, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Brown, Councillor Clark, Councillor Page are in favour. Against, Councillor Kennedy and Councillor Allgate. Declared that carried. Thank you, councillors. Move to item 6, report number 79/20, page 142. It's the draft Broken Hill Local Strategic Planning Statement. Do I have a mover for the motion? Do I have a mover for the motion? Councillor Adams and Councillor Adams and Councillor Clark seconded it. Thank you. Councillor Adams, do you want to speak to the motion?
No, just to say that it's an extensive report, and well done to the staff for doing it.
Thank you. Speakers against, Councillor Kennedy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I'll speak against it. It is an extensive report. The problem I have is the report doesn't represent what the community wants. Again, we're pushing for this library hub, even though just about everyone I speak to is opposed to the amount of money that's going to be spent on this library hub. It's going to bring nothing new to the centre of town. What else concerns me particularly is that councils again push for renewable and carbon neutral and green emissions and all the stuff that council does. We just had an answer question, and it's in the back page. Carbon dioxide only accounts for 0.04% of the atmosphere. it is a very small amount of gas. It's a minute amount of gas. Of that 0.04%, only 3% is contributed by humans. So we are again getting lower and lower. Then Broken Hill's contribution, if you work out that we're 1/1500th of the Australian population, works out at 0.00006% of that 3%. So for Broken Hill to be spending who knows what on renewables and green energy and becoming carbon neutral and all this sort of stuff, this is all for some minute amount of carbon dioxide that we can't even measure. And in the answer, it even said that it can't measure because they don't know what Broken Hill produces. How can a council spend potentially well, not potentially, it's an unknown amount, because I've asked several times how much these plans for electric cars and everything else that council talks about doing, what it's going to cost. I've also made it clear that as a councillor, I'm all for anything that saves on energy and saves money for the community. LED lighting saves energy, but it also saves a significant amount of money for the community. They're significantly better. It is a good thing for the community. I'm all for growing trees. Trees has a benefit to the community beyond carbon dioxide. Trees are great for the community. As many trees as we can. Keep Broken Hill green. People like greenery. Greenery makes people feel better. Carbon dioxide is only a minute amount of the purpose of having those trees, same as the LED lighting. The savings in energy costs are what we as councillors should be driving, not the savings of 0.00000000000% of carbon dioxide for the planet. It is just virtue signalling by this council, and we're having the community pay for it, and it is not acceptable.
Thank you, Councillor. Any speakers for? Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to comment on something that Councillor Kennedy has said. Certainly, he is talking about very small amounts of carbon dioxide, which may be contributed by a community. But take all communities, add them all together and see what the level of carbon dioxide will amount to in the atmosphere. We cannot think like this. This is backward thinking. We have to be thinking ahead. And I will tell Councillor Kennedy that alternative forms of energy are the future. Electric cars are the future. Now, Broken Hill can stick its head in the sand and raise its bottom to the ceiling and be backward, or we can move ahead with the rest of the country, because this is where we are headed. Also, I'd just like to take this opportunity to make a comment and say that it is very pleasing for Broken Hill to see a positive snapshot here in this particular planning statement to show the future mining projects and the future of those and the impact that this will have on Broken Hill in the future. I see several starting up in the next couple of years, and that is very, very heartening. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further speakers against? I think Councillor Kennedy has spoken. No speakers against. Councillor Kennedy, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I suppose it's to be asked this. I probably could have asked it the last one. Talking about mining and all that sort of stuff. And Menindee Lakes and all that, and tourism and that sort of stuff. It has been brought to my attention that currently there's about 34 Victorian caravans parked at the Menindee Lakes, and that could have an impact on COVID-19 and that sort of stuff. And they're actually dumping their waste in the lakes and also burying it So the question really is, could the mayor just follow that up? It might be important. It might have some sort of effect on. Might have some sort of effect. I just thought I'd bring it to your attention.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not sure. Councillor Allgate, are you speaking against the motion?
I just wanted to make a comment, Madam Chair, and that comment was relates to Councillor Clark's suggestion that electric cars are a thing of the future. That may well be, but having read a lengthy report that Volkswagen and Audi combined, done a significant long-term study into diesel vehicles, which are prominently in use nowadays, and against electric vehicles, and it was quite clear their conclusion is that electric vehicles are far less friendly to the climate than diesel vehicles are.
Okay.
The cost of manufacture, the cost of the batteries, the greenhouse gases produced in manufacture outweigh the long-term benefits. It seems to be quite clear.
Okay, thank you, councillors. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? And against? Mayor Shirley, Councillor Cool, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Nolan, Councillor Brown, Councillor Clark, Councillor Page, Councillor Adams are in favour, and against Councillor Kennedy and Councillor Allgate. Thank you, councillors. We move to item 7, report number 80/20, page 212, the adoption of the draft Queen Elizabeth Park Plan and Management. Do I have a mover? Thank you. Moved by Councillor Nolan, seconded by Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Nolan, do you want to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Is the audio okay?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Okay, look, it's with great pleasure I move this motion because potentially QE Park will be a brilliant place with this upgrade. We've only got to see what a difference we made in Patton Park. And I've had quite a bit of interaction with the machinery.
I'll just hold it for a minute. We've just lost visuals of one of our councillors. So while we are waiting for him to return, you know, we just got to be fair about people leaving the meeting. So can we just see if Councillor Kennedy is returning to us? Have we lost him altogether? Okay. We'll just note that Councillor Kennedy's left us at this stage. So Councillor Nolan, go ahead, please.
Okay, well, thank you, Madam Mayor. Once again, great pleasure in moving this motion. When we look at what we did with Patton Park and what a fantastic improvement that was, this will be bigger and better than Patton Park, and it'll have the picnic train as well. I have had some interaction with the members of the Machinery Preservation Society about the positioning of the track and various improvements, you know, toilets and kiosk and whatever, ticket office, in the preceding weeks leading up to seeing this report, and it looks even better than I'd imagined. So I'll leave it to sell itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any speakers against? No speakers against. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Mayor Shirley, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Cool, Councillor Adams. Oh, that's a unanimous vote. Thank you, councillors. We'll move to item 8, report number 81/20, page 275, the investment report. Do I have a mover? A mover for the investment report. Councillor Nolan.
Councillor Gallagher.
And sorry, Councillor Gallagher.
Sorry, Councillor Nolan moved, Councillor Gallagher second.
Okay. Councillor Nolan, do you want to speak to the investment report, please?
I'm sure that both Councillor Gallagher and I could. the reality is that in these tough times, Broken Hill has invested well, continues to invest well, and the only little black mark we got at some point, either here or in a related report, was in relation to we kept additional cash on hand so we could ensure that we paid our local suppliers promptly in these times of COVID-19, which meant that our balance of investments was just slightly off of the Office of Local Government's ideal, and that it will be adjusted again in the coming month, but all positive and great to see our investments starting to turn around in these troubled times. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Is there any speakers against? No speakers against? Then I'll put the vote. All those in favour? So it's a unanimous vote. Thank you, councillors. We'll move now to item 9. Councillor Adams is leaving the room. Move now to item 9, report number 82/20, page 288, and it's the Community Assistance Grants awarded for round 1 of the 2020-2021 Community Assistance Grants.
Councillor Clark.
Councillor Clark, you're moving that way. Seconder.
Councillor Gallagher.
Councillor Clark, would you speak to the motion, please?
Yes, thank you. I was just waiting to be unmuted there. Thanks, Madam Mayor. Look, it's greatly satisfying to see that our council can assist these community applicants for their funds. They were all worthy projects, and happily the panel was able to fulfil their requests. There were a couple of applicants who can reapply, giving more details about their proposal, and I'm quite sure that council will no doubt be passing on the panel's comments in this regard. But I'd like to congratulate all applicants.
Thank you, councillor. I'm just seeing if we've got a speaker against or question. I'll go to Councillor Gallagher first, and then Councillor LeCool.
I think Councillor Gallagher is seconding, isn't he?
Yeah, so you haven't got any. Okay, Councillor LeCool, were you speaking? No, okay. No, is there any speakers against? No speakers against. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Nolan, are you voting? Thank you. All those in favour, all have supported it, and noting that Councillor Adams is outside the room. The motion is carried. We'll ask Councillor Adams to rejoin us. Thank you, Councillor Adams. That motion was carried unanimously. We move to item 10, report number 83/20, page 302. This is the minutes of the Local Traffic Committee, moved by Councillor Brown, seconder by Councillor Clark. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Brown, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, Madam Mayor, happy to answer any questions about it.
Okay. Is there any debate? There's no debate. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? That's a unanimous vote. Thank you, councillors. We'll move to item 11, the City Council report. Report number 84/20, page 313, the action list report. Do I have a mover? Councillor Adams. And second was Councillor Nolan. Do you want to speak to that, Councillor Adams?
Just to say it's really great that so many issues have been settled, and also very, very pleased to see that the West Island machinery is off our list at long last.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Clark, you had your hand raised.
No, just a second. Sorry, Madam Mayor,
Okay,
I should have
That's
whipped
okay,
that off.
that's fine. Is there any debate? No debate. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. A unanimous vote. We'll move to item 12. It's the committee reports. Report number 1, report number 85/20, page 325. Membership of 355 committees. Do I have a mover, Councillor Adams? Seconder, Councillor Clark. Councillor Adams, do you want to speak to the motion?
No, it's fine, thanks.
Councillor Clark?
That's all fine. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, is there any debate? No debate. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declared it carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Move to item 13. Questions taken on notice from the previous council meeting. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Cool. Second by Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Cool, do you have any? Did you have a speak to the motion?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there any debate? No debate. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? I declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. We move to questions for next meeting arising from items on the agenda. Mr. GM, I have one question, and it's to do with a plan for us to return to the council chambers. Could we come up with a consultation? We may have some of the councillors still not able to come back to the chambers, and I'm not sure if we can have a mixed medium. So if we could do the consultation and come back with a plan to that.
To the July meeting, Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
Sure, yes,
But
absolutely.
you know, we need to know, because there's a few councillors that are unable to, may be unable to return, and what that will mean, because our chamber isn't set up at the moment for this sort of meeting. So if you could do that, that would be great.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. Councillor Cool, you have a question?
Yes, I do this through the chair to the General Manager. I'm wondering if the General Manager can look at what options Council can investigate or do regarding the infestation of cockies in Sturt Park and the unholy mess that they're creating and around Sturt Park.
Thank you.
It's been raised with me by members of, it's been raised by members of the public with me about the mess they're making in one of our jewels in the crown assets.
Thank
I
you.
don't know if we can do anything, but if the GM can look into that and report back.
Thank you. Councillor Adams, do you have a question?
Same thing for us, Councillor Cool, Picton Oval, but also outside here of our admin. The copies are just, they're all back in the same numbers that they were before. So we really have to look to see whether something can be done. It's destroying everything.
Okay, we'll take that on notice. Is that a different question you've got, Councillor Nolan?
To reinforce what's
Okay.
been said, we've got them around the back of the Civic Centre in those gum trees there as well. And year after year, people say, why don't you shoot them? Why don't you poison them? Why don't you let off loud guns and scare them away? It's not an easy solution. I'm going to leave that with staff to make recommendations. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, yes, native wildlife is very hard. So, okay, thank you. We'll take those questions on notice. Thank you, councillors. We'll move to
Councillor Clark.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Clark.
Yes, it's not really a, oh, am I unmuted? It's not really a question, Madam Mayor. It's more a comment, and I'd just like to congratulate the council workers who have been putting up those street blades. They look absolutely marvellous. I know it's a work in progress, and you know, the job hasn't been finished yet, and people, if they're patient, will soon get some very nice blades for their street. But the ones that are done at the moment, terrific job.
Join the body can.
Thank you, councillor. We will pass that on. Okay, no further questions on notice. We'll move to confidential matters. Report number 86/20.
Resolve.
We'll move a resolution that we move into confidential. Can I have a resolution to move into confidential? Moved by councillor Clark, second by councillor Nolan. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declared. Councillor LaCour, you're voting? Thank you. We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor LaCour, are you voting? Your green button or your red button? Thank you. Unanimous vote. We'll move into camera. We'll move out of camera. I'll ask the General Manager to read the motions back to the...
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Item number 1 in confidential minutes for confirmation of the ordinary meeting on the 27th of May. Resolved by Council of the Bracknell City Council report number 86/20 dated June 5, 2020 be received, and the confidential minutes of the ordinary council meeting held 27 May 2020 be confirmed. Item number 2, Madam Mayor, is to do with 331 Merton Street. Resolved by Council of the Bracknell City Council report number 87/20 dated June 16, 2020 be received, and the Bracknell City Council issued an expression of interest to partner with a not-for-profit community housing provider to develop 331 Merton Street as a social affordable housing project. And item number 3 was that prior to that a site inspection be arranged for councils prior to the results of the EOI process being reported to council. And the last item, Madam Mayor, legal expenses Civic Centre redevelopment project, resolved by Council of the Bracknell City Council report number 88/20 dated June 17, 2020 be received. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillors. I'll close the meeting at 7:29 p.m. Thank you, everyone, for your patience, and thank you for the staff.